The number one reason you need dividends. All right, so let's dive into this research report I'm reading from the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco. Rate of return on everything 1870 to 2015. I've done videos on this previously a couple years ago, but I've just recently come across this report. I'm not sure if they have an update or not. This was published in 2017, but 1870 2015 by some of these people right here. If I remember, I'll put a link in the show notes for you can review it because it's fun. It's got 123 pages. You just print it off, you bust out your little yellow thing here, and you're on your way. So let's check this out. The real rates of return on equities and housing in all these various countries, and we're just going to look at USA because no one else matters. USA or bust, baby. In the full sample of 1870 to 2015, stocks have averaged 8.39% real. That means net of inflation. We've already taken out inflation, so real rate of return. Housing has averaged 6.03. But interestingly enough, from 1950 to 2015, stocks increased from 8.39 to 8.75, whereas housing went down to 5.62. Interestingly enough, from post-1980, stocks went from 8.39 to 8.75 to 9.09, where housing stayed about the same, about 5.5 or so. Anyway, so interesting, you see an increase, 8.39, 8.75, 9.09. The part that this is right here, the part that this is not good, this is the entire sample, 8.39% real rate of return, but it includes 1980 as well. All right, so let's go over here. We're going to go to my man Daniel Kuhlberg's 55e.co, and we're going to go to 1871 to 1980. All right, and what we're going to do is get an idea of how much stocks did from 1871 to, actually start with I think they had 1950 here. 1950. Let's see what stocks did in 1871 to 1950. All right, because again, this right here includes the entire sample, which includes 1980 and 1950 as well. We want to exclude that and see how stocks did in that a little bit smaller set. So we're going to go from let's see, 1871, we had $100 in the market, and all the way to 1950, right there, we ended up with 33,502. So we take our trusty calculator, 100 is our present value, plus minus present value. Our future value is 33,052 is our future value. We made no payment. We had how many years? We had 50. Let's see, that's 100. We had 1870. Right there, we had 89 years. 79 years. All right, so 79 years is our N. Stocks average 7.64% a year from 1871 until 1950. 7.64. We come back here, we can see housing average 6.3. Stocks average 7.64. So when we exclude the post-1950 era, in the post-1980 era, we lose about 80 basis points on stocks. Very interesting. Very interesting. In fact, as interesting as you look at bonds over that full sample, bonds average real return on bonds was 2.79. That's a whole sample, all right? And I just find that incredible. But that's not the point of this video, my friends. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video is to show you, I'm going to keep coming down here. Watch this. Very interesting. These are our stocks, geometric and arithmetic. Geometric is kind of really what we're shooting for. That's the compounding, essentially. The total return, 8.63 for the full sample from 1870 to 2015. 8.63, of which how much was dividend income? About half was dividend income, right? So we 8.63. 4.16% was dividend income. 4.4% was capital gain, appreciation. So dividend income was 48% of the entire returns. Fast forward to post-1950, and dividend income is only 37% of the entire returns. I know you're sitting there saying, does that show you why we should not have dividend income? No, because we're going to go down to the very next thing here. Here's our equity returns right here on the right-hand side, all right? United States of America, all right? This will go back to the entire time. 6.7 is capital gain. 4.3 is dividend income, a total return of 11.08. These are arithmetic averages, not geometric, but we'll just use it because that's what they show. 11% is capital gain. 11% is total return, of which 60% in the entire sample size, 1870 to 2015, is capital gain. But what are these other numbers right here? These are a standard deviation or volatility. So we got an 11% arithmetic rate of return from 1870 to 2015, of which is an 18.5% standard deviation. Standard deviation of dividend income, only 1.57. Dividend income is basically as tried and true as you're going to get. It just keeps paying, keeps paying, keeps paying. So while the stock market is going nuts, 18.22% standard deviation. Let's run these numbers. We'll show you what I'm talking about. Just remember how we do standard deviations. We got 6.7 is our mean return, so plus or minus 3 standard deviations, 18.22. All right, plus or minus 3 standard deviations, and the standard deviation is 18.22. So basically, we do 18.22 times by 3 gets us 54.6. We're just going to use 54 for simplicity, and 6.7 plus or minus 54. So the standard deviation and the average rate of return of capital gains is going to be, on any given day, you could be up about 61%, or down about 46% or so. That's the volatility of a capital gains. Up 61%, down 46%. All right, because that's your average rate of return by 1 standard deviation. We times by 3 standard deviations to get a 99.8% probability. So within 99.8% on any given year, your capital gain could increase by 61% or decline by 46%. That's probably a lot more than most retirees want to have happen. They probably don't want to have a 46% decline in their capital gain. And yet dividends, on the other hand, give you a 4.38% average rate of return with a 1.57 standard deviation, times that by 3. 1.57 times 3, 4.71. So 4.38 plus minus 4.71 with a 99.8% probability. That would say on any given year, plus 4.38, you'd be up 9%. Your volatility on your dividends would increase by 9%, or basically decrease by 0.5 to 1%. That's crazy. So the volatility on your dividends could be up by 9% on any given year with a 99.8%, or it could be down by 0.5 to 1%. Volatility under capital gains could be up by 61% or down by 46% on any given year. And yet dividends still, even though they haven't accounted for as much as the growth of the portfolio, is still giving us 40% roughly of our total appreciation on our stocks. That's why you have dividends, because it gives you that baseline, that cushion, if you will, that floor that says no matter what happens on capital gains, I'm still going to get dividends plugging along. Now, again, can we guarantee you going forward? No, because we can see right here, the share of dividends relative to capital gains has dropped significantly. Right here, we can see the geometric 52% of returns from 1870 to 2015 was in the capital gain, which meant 48% was in dividends. In the last 60, 70, 80 something years, 1950, 70 years, it's been 63% has been capital appreciation. And the reason for that, again, is because of mass volatility in capital appreciation. But what dividends do is they give you less volatility, and they still give you a sizable accounting of your total rate of return. I hope this makes sense. This is a big flipping deal, especially for retirees. All right, love your thoughts. God bless. Smash that like button. We'll see you.